Hey guys, welcome back to another Now Recording. Picked up a couple of new records last weekend actually, and I thought I'd talk about them now. So the first one is you see right in front of you. I actually went over to Newbury Comics in the North Shore Mall, which is okay. It's not the best Newbury Comics, and I think I'm gonna wait for a while longer before going back, just because it never seems like they have any new stuff. Like every time I go, and usually there's at least a month between my visits, it seems like it's literally the same inventory as the last time I was there. So there wasn't really any exciting stuff there. I mean, this is. We'll talk about a couple of things that I'm happy I got. But in terms of, I keep a big list, like a big shopping list of pretty normal stuff. It's not stuff that's like too off the beaten path, and this is the only thing that they had that was on that list. So I'll probably take a break from that particular Newbury Comics. But the ones on Newbury Street in Boston, and also in Harvard Square, those are good ones. Sorry that the AC is going on and off. It's like 95 degrees in the house, so I need it. But anyway, so that's where I went. And I found this one. You might remember from a recent pickups video. I think it was not the last one, but the one before. I picked up Rough Draft by Jay Dilla. And so this is Donuts, which came out in 2006. It was released on Stone's Throw Records. And it's an instrumental hip-hop album. So it's all beats. There's no rapping on it or anything. On Rough Draft, it was largely beats, but there was a couple of tracks that had guest rappers, and this is all just beats. It was released actually 3 days before his death in 2006. He died from a rare blood. I don't know how rare it is, but it's a blood disease called TTP that Jay Dilla died from in 2006. So consequently, this album was made primarily in the hospital. He put this together in the hospital. His friends brought him the equipment and stuff, and they hooked it all up in his hospital room. And this is where he made this album. So, I don't know. I did some research about the album, and it wasn't necessarily like one of those situations where he wanted to. I'm sure he did, but. Like he needed to complete this album before he died or anything like that. I don't know if it was quite like that. Like Warren Zevon's final album, The Wind, he knew he had a certain amount of time left to live, and he made sure to get the album out in time while he was still alive. This just kind of happened that the album was completed and was released right before he died, but so he worked on it primarily in the hospital. It's named Donuts because he likes donuts, or liked donuts, so that's why it's actually called that. The songs these beats that he created here have been used in countless songs by other rappers. In Wikipedia, there's a big list of everyone who's ever sampled one of these songs, and it's quite an extensive list. So. And that doesn't just go for the songs on Donuts, but the beats that he came up with in general. And we're actually, the next album that we look at is going to be by a friend of Jay Dilla's who collaborated together with him quite extensively. This was ranked number 66 of the top 200 albums of the 2000s by Pitchfork. So just very, very highly regarded album. And it's a lot of fun to listen to because it's not, and pardon me, because it's actually kind of refreshing in this way. I don't know any of this. I've listened to this thing about 3 times all the way through, and you can see it's actually on double. There's 2 records, so there's 4 sides. I'll give you a sense of what the actual record looks like. Pardon me. Side basically looks like that with the Jay Dilla font. But I don't know the song because there's no words, so it's not like it's meant to almost be like experienced rather than you're not singing along to it. You just listen to it and let it kind of flow through. And it's a lot of fun doing that. It doesn't matter, you're not waiting to hear a particular song or anything. because sometimes when you're waiting to hear a particular song, or you really like one song over others, you're kind of just almost tuning the others out until you hear that. But in this case, it's all these songs are part of the puzzle, and they all go together, and they all kind of intertwine and loop together. It's almost just like a sonic collage, rather than like a hip hop album. The beats it can be rapped over, but it's not really like a rap album. It should not be considered that. So Donuts is great. I'm not really sure where to go next. This was kind of the definitive album by him, and then Rough Draft, which I purchased earlier, is another really good one. But I'm trying to, I know that there are others, so I'd have to look into that to see like where I should go from here. But I'm very happy to have this one. And so we'll move on to this. So this is One Day It'll All Make Sense by Common. So you might know Common nowadays as the guy who's like in movies with Queen Latifah. He was in Selma. No, he's been in some decent stuff, but he's done some crap too. But he's primarily an actor at this point. I'm sure he still raps. I haven't really kept up with his current catalog. But before that, he had been a very accomplished rapper, a very good rapper. And this is an album from 1997. It was released on Relativity Records. One Day It'll All Make Sense. So this album followed. He had an album called Resurrection that came out in 1994. And that album is very highly regarded and hailed as a masterpiece. I mean, maybe in 1994, I'm not the biggest rap expert, but Illmatic by Nas came out that year. It was probably in the top 5 for 1994, maybe even top 2, depending on who you talk to about rap albums from that year. So this came out 3 years later, and was people were really waiting for this, the follow-up. Interestingly enough, and I don't know why this is, I was just kind of flipping through, because the Common album that came out after this one is called Like Water for Chocolate. That came out in 2000, and that is it's on my shopping list. It's one of my favorite albums of all time. It's just fantastic, and it does exist on vinyl, but so far every time I see it, it's like $35, and it's just I can't bring myself to pay that much for it, or for really anything. So I'm kind of waiting until I see it a little bit cheaper and maybe get it online or something. But I was just flipping through the comment to look for Like Water for Chocolate, and I saw this, and I know that this one's good. I have the MP3s on this one, and it had a price tag of $5.99 on it. And this is for there's two records in here. Of course it was sealed at Newbury Comics, and I thought that there must have been some mistake, or maybe that because I looked at the back and it has 4 sides, so I thought maybe they knew it only had one of the records in it, and so they were selling it like at a discount. But I took a chance and just was like, whatever, I'll try it out. I mean, if it's really $6, that's unbelievable. And it was all here. So I don't know why that is. And then I went to newburycomics.com, and they had it listed online for $7.99, which is still dirt cheap. So I don't know what it is about One Day It'll All Make Sense that they're trying to just get rid of it. No, I don't know. But that's the only time I've ever seen an album that like people might actually want to buy, is priced that low. Usually their bargain bin is like stuff you've never heard of that you would not want. But here you go. So always as a kind of a lesson, just make sure to take a look and see what the prices are, and look closely at that, because this is a pretty good deal. See up here the C and the S in the middle. So Common had gone by the moniker Common Sense for his first 2 albums. So he had an album called Can I Borrow a Dollar from I think 1992, and then Resurrection, which I mentioned already. And there was a ska band called Common Sense that like sued him or did a cease and desist or something. So he had to change his name just to Common, but the logo has the S in there. If you see the C with the S, that's still kind of like the Common Sense logo. I think that he dropped that after this, but I could be wrong about that. The cover is a picture of him at 8 years old with his mother. I looked that up, so there you go. Thanks, Wikipedia. This hit number 62 on the Billboard chart in 1997. And there's a lot of good songs on this. I listened to it again shortly after I bought it. I hadn't heard it in a long time. Retrospect for Life with Lauryn Hill is really, really good. Food for Funk is really good. See CeeLo Green appears on it. And then, what else we got? Erykah Badu, Stolen Moments. Those are good. Black Thought is from The Roots. Making a Name for Ourselves featuring Cannabis. Cannabis was primed to be the next big thing in rap around this time, and it just did not pan out for him for a variety of reasons, but at one point he was a big name, or he was going to be a big name. Pop's Rap Part 2, Fatherhood, featuring Lonnie Pops Lynn. So at the end of every Common record, at least for a long time, his dad would do like a spoken word piece. The one on Like Water for Chocolate is amazing, actually. It's like, I really actually like the song, and it's just his dad talking over a beat. But Lonnie Pops Lynn was actually in the ABA. He was a basketball player. He played for Pittsburgh in the ABA. So that's kind of interesting as well. So the reason why this ties into Jay Dilla is, so this album didn't do particularly well. And there goes the AC again. Sorry about that. This album didn't do particularly well on the charts or in the sales. And so after this, he started working with the Soul Quarians, which was a hip-hop collective that I believe included Jay Dilla and Questlove from The Roots. There are others that I'm not remembering. And they together made Like Water for Chocolate. So this is still really good, but Like Water for Chocolate has the beats of this guy, who is just a master, with the wordsmithing of Common. And so together, they just knocked it out of the park with that. So hopefully I will do a pickup video about Like Water for Chocolate at some point. But in the meantime, this is what I picked up. Again, this might have been like $20, and this was like $5 or $6. So I'm not going to complain too much about that. So hopefully next time there will be. This was already over a week ago that I bought these, so I'm sure there'll be another one soon, and I'll be back to talk about those when that happens. Thanks a lot.